Just see if he comes on. Okay. Well, I'm going to, we're going to deal with Rotary business after we've heard from Jim, so that our guests that want to leave after they've heard the talk are welcome to do so. So I'm going to introduce a Rotarian Jim Lewis to you. James or Jim, why do they call you Jim if your name is James?
When I was little, Grace, my name was Jimmy.
Oh.
And they changed it. Well, James, of course, I'm named after a saint.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's why you're a Rotarian now.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to follow the four-way test.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Somebody just started calling me Jimmy, and then it came to Jim. But you can call me anything you'd like.
Okay. All right.
Especially the dinner.
Okay, so Jim joined Rotary on December the 5th, 2001. He is from the Rotary Club of Simi Sunrise 2001 to 2006. He served on the District Grant Committee 2005-2006. He then was at the Rotary Club of Kanijo Valley 2006 to 2007. Rotary Club of Moore Park 2008 to 2021. You're almost like me, club hopping.
I retired.
Okay. He served as the chair for 5240 Foundation Gala 2012. This is a very long CV. Is the past president 2011 to 2012, awarded the best medium-sized club for District 5240. He was the Vocational Service Director. He's been the Polio Chair Committee Director, International Service Director 2015 to 2016. He's a past AG 2013 to 14. Rotary Rose Parade Committee Float Director. You'd have to tell us more about what that means.
Okay.
He's the Green Award for Service Above Self. He has the RA5 5 Avenues of Service Award. He's got the Dr. Otto Orstel Polio Plus Award. He's a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, a Paul Harris Society member, a major donor, Bequest Society member, benefactor. He's attended 7 international Rotary International conventions. He's a speaker and trainer for multiple district assembly conferences. He traveled to India for 9 national immunization days. I think that is quite impressive. He's written 16 matching grants, 14 global grants, and 10 district grants. So I think we found a person who can help us with a global grant when we stuck. He's a keynote speaker at Rotary District 5400, Idaho on polio. He's a speaker at the Rotary District Conference, February 2013, March 2015. He's the chair of Polio Survivor Summit. He's received the Rotary Foundation International Service Award for a polio-free world, given at the RI Convention in Atlanta in June 2017. He's a polio survivor. He was paralyzed in 1948. By profession, he's a high school teacher, coach, administrator. I think that's a mouthful, Jim, but I'm going to let you take over from there. Thank you very much and welcome.
That took 5 minutes.
Oh, that took half your speech.
I need to reload my wine glass.
There you go. You better come over. We'll beam you up. We'll beam you up.
Please.
Well, what an honor.
I need to share your screen for you, Jim.
Yeah, okay. I was just going to say congratulations. You've got it seems like you have a terrific club. And I think we need to work together now. Now that we've found each other, I don't know how you found me, but I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. And I'm looking forward to having Stella maybe talk to our RI president and let's get the convention in your city there. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, just first, I want to congratulate you also on the fact that Africa is polio free. Yeah. A whole continent. I mean, you're getting some polio from the vaccine, but there's reasons for that. You know that. So we'll work on that. Well, anyway, just thank you very, very much. And I've been so looking forward to speaking with you. And it seems like Rotary being worldwide and with the COVID, we've been able to reach out on Zoom and other platforms, but it's been different. You know, it's been wonderful, really. So anyway, that's it. I just want to say thank you, and Peter and Carol, and I've got Bambo, and of course,
sorry, it's Nick. I'm using my company.
oh, no
Zoom
wonder.
account.
I thought you had a new name going there. It's Nick, okay, and Grace, of course. And we have 4 that we don't have pictures of, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, okay. But just thank you. It's been wonderful, and I think.
Okay, now you've only got 2 without pictures.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, good. We've got to. Oh, there you are. Very nice. The other 2 might have gone to bed early. Who knows? Aha! We've got John. There he is. Yeah, we can see the sun in the background, or the moon. Very nice.
I'm only about 40 meters, about 20 meters away from Grace.
Oh, is it?
Yes, we're in the same house, just different parts.
Okay.
Okay. You just tell me when you want me to share your screen for you.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and put the first slide up. We'll go from there. You know, being a former teacher, I could talk all day. I'm glad Grace knows what she's doing.
Just give me a minute. I had it up on the screen and then it was gone. I'm going
It's
to
coming
just
now.
stop that.
There you go, Nick. You can read it again. The object of Rotary.
I'm just going to get it up on the screen again because I somehow didn't save it, or just give me 1 sec. I'll have it for you now.
I like Stella and her outfit there. She's looking sharp.
Stella has
Wow.
amazing outfits.
Thank you.
Aha. We
Can
did
you
it.
see the screen?
Okay. How do we make?
Okay.
And you can see it all, right? You can move it up just a tad.
Don't know how. It's a PDF, so I'm not too sure how to do that.
Okay. All right. Let me see.
There's a along the top bar, there's like a rectangle with a 4-way cross in it. 1 meter left, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, you should be somewhere in there.
That's put to 1. There you go. Does that bigger? But now you can't see any. No, that's not.
Well, you
it's not
see
working.
less, I guess.
I'm going to leave it there.
Put the
It's
one
better.
full
I'm sure
page.
you can all see it.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah, and the tab on the right.
I think you can move the whole screen up a little. Maybe. That's all right. Well, okay,
Yeah.
let's start off. Now. Nick, how long have you been in Rotary?
About 19 years, 18 or 19 years.
You and I are
Almost the same as
tied.
you.
I'm coming up on 20 now. In December.
No, guys.
Okay, and Peter and Carol, how long have you been in?
We're on 41 years.
Wow.
You can do the program on polio.
We've
And
actually
Stella, how about Stella?
used to do the
I have
squirt.
been a Rotarian for 25 years.
25,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
I
95.
feel like I'm like Nick, young. I've been kind of a rookie. Oh, look at that wine. Okay, let's take a look at this because I know that we'd have to live up on Mars, I think, not to know that Rotary's #1 objective is to eradicate polio. If you're a Rotarian, you know that if that is our major goal. And let me get rid of that. And the funny thing about it is when I joined Rotary, I was a school administrator working with high school students, putting them together with business and professional people in the role of internships, and just getting a job, working. And so I talked to my superintendent of schools, who was the boss, and I said, Kathy, I'd like to know about Rotary. Perhaps I can make contacts with the business community and see if we can work with the high school kids. And she said, sure. So she took me to a meeting, and then I went to another meeting, I think, and then I was brought in. I didn't know anything about the fact that polio eradication had to do with Rotary and that it was their #1 objective. It took me, a few weeks, and I got a Rotarian magazine, and here it was. They had articles about polio. So I said to the current president at the time of the club, and I said, I'm a polio survivor. If I can help you in any way, let me know, because I could talk to you about it. I've been there, and if you need help, Well, a few months later, and then that'd be fine. And a few months later, I was asked to go to India for an NID. And there's quite a bit of planning before you go. And I'd never been to India. In fact, I'd never been out of the United States except Mexico and Canada. Well, since then, I've been able to travel a little bit, but so I was given that opportunity to go. It was in February, because that's probably the best weather in India. I don't know about it, how it is there in Johannesburg, but is it cool then?
People,
Carol says
not
maybe.
this month.
Yeah, just in case we make a little flight over there. Anyway, so we get prepared, and we get our visas, and we get everything ready to go. And we're going to fly to New Delhi. And we flew out of Los Angeles, the whole team. We had jackets, so we were matching, and we had our hats, and we took off, and we landed in Japan, and then we fueled up, and we got Japanese food on the plane that time. And then we fly down to Singapore. And Singapore was just a fascinating country. It's so beautiful, and it was so clean, and it was just wonderful. We spent the night, and then the next day we flew to New Delhi, and we landed about 4 o'clock in the morning. And here, when we get out through the airport to get our bus, all these little kids at 4 o'clock in the morning are waiting to help us with our luggage. And I'm thinking, what are they doing at 4 o'clock? Where's their mother and father? But that's my introduction. And then we bus right over to the Hyatt Regency, which is a beautiful hotel there. And we met with Deepak Kapoor, the chair of the polio committee in India, and he let us know what we're going to be doing. So the next day, my team, which would happen to be, I was blessed to be with our district governor at the time and another lady, and we took off for Moradabad. About 4 hours drive on a terrible road, really. And do they drive on the left side of the road in Johannesburg? You do? The crazy British, right? Must have been. Yeah, well, when you come here, you're going to have to drive, Nick, Rest and Grace, you're going to have to drive on the right side. So, but anyway, so I thought I was going to get killed over there by the time I got there. And I wondered, what am I doing? I was here to give polio vaccines. Well, and my district governor says, well, just be patient. We're going to be there, and he'd been on one before. So we got to the hotel, which was, we got to our location where we were going to stay. And we actually were going to stay with the district governor in his house, which was really nice. And we stayed there. And the two district governors got along pretty well. The next morning, we had these booths all over the city. And we were taken to these booths and by the Rotarians. And there must have been 500 kids in line to get vaccines.
Wow.
Very, very, very organized. And before this, we'd met with UNICEF and we'd met with the World Health people, and they've taught us how to use the vaccine and, you know, not to give them a whole 4 or 5 drops, you know, you're giving them 2. And so we took off and that was it. I mean, I gave that little girl the vaccine, 2 drops in her mouth, and I started to cry. That little girl is not going to get polio like I did when I was her age. And I couldn't get enough of them. I was vaccinating them all day. And when I went back to the hotel, I wanted to report back to my wife, and one of the fellows had one of those old cell phones, but I asked him, I said, Peter, can you call California? And he did. And I got a hold of my wife and I said, honey, first of all, I didn't know what I was doing when I got here, but I did give vaccines today. And I'm so excited about it. And she said, your granddaughter got her polio vaccine today also. Oh, God is good, right? So, and that was it. So, you know, that started me off, and I went back, and of course, you make presentations, and I found out not only was I able to help the high school kids get an internship or a job, but I also enjoyed the camaraderie of Rotary and found that our #1 objective is to eradicate it. So let me go back now. That's a little bit of an introduction. Okay, as you're looking at the past, there's a picture there with a boy standing and a boy in the bed and a little girl with braces and crutches. You see that? Can you see it, Carol?
Yes, I
Yes.
can.
Okay, good. And Grace can see it. I can't see Grace now, but okay. And Nick's still there. Good for you. There she is. Okay. That boy standing there is me.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
When I was, okay. And you see the jack-o'-lantern on the bed. So it was near the time of Halloween. I had been in the hospital for about 8 weeks, and in that picture, I was at a convalescent home, at a convalescent center,
Wow.
and they were working with me there. So let me say this, and it wouldn't matter if it's me or if it's the thousands and thousands of other parents, grandparents, and children that have had the terrible experience of finding out that their child had polio. Polio in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and even in the 50s, early 50s, was as scary as COVID. Scary as COVID-19. We didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have television. But we knew the virus was there, and our parents knew it, and everybody knew it. We had a president of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that had polio. And you know how old he was when he came down with it? 39. He wasn't just a kid. Polio. You can get polio if you've not been vaccinated at any age. Unlike the virus for COVID, this virus for polio, and there were 3 types, as you know, 1, 2, and 3. are found in sewer water, in tainted water, in water that is, and food that has the virus that has passed through the body. It's gone through into the fecal matter and into the sewers and into the waterways. And if the child or the human adult has not been vaccinated, that child can come down with it. My father was an athlete. He was football and baseball player. He was a great athlete. My mom was in the medical field. She was a medical technician. She wasn't working at the time. I was 5 years old and 9 months. My brother was 3 years and about 20 months. We lived up in a canyon in the mountains, and there was a natural stream coming down the street. We didn't know this, but we were playing in it all the time as kids. The polio virus was in that water.
Mm-mm.
They did not have sewers. They did not have water treatment, really. In that area, there were septic tanks, leach lines for the feces and urine to be passed, and water from the sinks and cleaning dishes and so forth. But it was in that water. We got very, very sick in August. And the doctor came to the house and said to my mom and dad, after he checked us out, and I was so weak I could hardly move, that he thought we perhaps had polio. And of course, my mother started to cry immediately, like I've seen so many mothers. And my father was so devastated, because I think that in some ways they kind of felt guilty. Maybe they didn't know, how did they come down with this? Because in the United States, they didn't want us to go to swimming pools. They didn't want us to go to movie theaters. They didn't want us to even go to some restaurants. And that's what was going on then. And it was mainly by word of mouth that the polio is, you could get polio. And I lived in Los Angeles County in the city of Burbank, which was famous really for the movies and for Walt Disney Studios and for Warner Brother movies. And there was a couple of big hospitals that were taking patients that had polio. That year in 1948, there were over 4,000 cases of polio. There were more in 1949. It really spiked after World War II. And I don't know if some of the soldiers brought it back in their body, because you know that polio is really only a plane ride away. And maybe that's why a virus that's been around for about 4,000 years was so tough to try to eliminate. But my mother carried my brother, and my dad carried me, went down and carried us, put us in the automobile, drove us to Los Angeles County Hospital, and they let us into they couldn't go in the hospital, but they put us in a wheelchair or a bed, and they took us in and they gave us a spinal tap, and they looked at it under the microscope, and sure enough, we had polio. They were taking us up, and from that point, I got weaker and weaker. My brother actually got a little bit better, but they were using hot packs. You remember those wool hot packs that Sister Kenny developed? And some of the doctors, they didn't think she knew what she was doing. She was a nurse out of Australia. Well, believe me, I think they saved my life. They would wrap these hot blankets, scalding hot blankets, on our bodies and hold us so that they would try to kill that virus, slow it down, stimulate the muscles. And then when they were working, the nurses were working with our muscles. And my neck was so stiff, I couldn't even lift my head. But slowly but surely, I got to the point where they got me to be able to sit up with help. And eventually I got down, and I was told that my mother and father were standing outside the hospital, and if I could walk to the window, I could wave to them. I remember walking very slowly, and the nurses helped me. And when I saw them, I just was so excited, and I kind of cried, I guess. But it took a little while. I don't know what happened to that boy in the bed, and I don't know what happened to that little girl. But I know one thing: polio stayed with me and has been for my whole life. Now, like COVID, they're working on a vaccine. There were two men, as you know, Albert Sabin, and Jonas Salk. These two men were battling back and forth, almost like a cricket game or a soccer game or a football game, to see who could come up with that vaccine first. Well, it happened to be Jonas Salk. And on Saturday, you know, we celebrated World Polio Day, and it was started because in honor of Jonas Salk. What a wonderful man. And I got a chance to meet his son, Peter Salk. And you asked me about the Rose Parade. Okay, let me quickly say this. Many of you know that on New Year's Day in Pasadena, California, we have the Rose Parade. It actually started way back in the 20s with horses and buggies, and there was an equestrian club there in Pasadena, and they decorated their buggies and with flowers, and they paraded down the street with them. Well, it grew to the point where now the Rose Parade, which was canceled this year, it's not going to have it on January 1st this year, first time in a long time, 80 some years. But it's seen, and I'm sure, have any of you seen it? The Rose Parade on television. Have you seen it, Nick? Oh, good. Not this year, but next year.
Well,
Pardon me?
and the football game.
Yeah. And my Trojans hopefully will play there someday again. Our USC Trojans. Yeah, and we're fighting on. Yeah, the football game came about after that, but I'm on the committee. I got a chance to ride on one of the floats in 2012, I think it was. No, 2013. And I got a chance to ride on the float. It was so exciting. There's 1 million people on the parade route. They are so excited. They'll say, "There's the Rotary float. Oh, they do so much good in the world. They're so great." And you hear them, you know. And of course, there's another couple. There's probably 50 million watching in America, and I don't know how many around the world. But if you want to come and visit and you want to be on the float, you just let me know. But we can't do it this year. Maybe next year. Pete, you know, we could get Carol on there. She could wave. You have to work on your wave. You know? Yeah, we get her out there. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. So anyway, that's the connection on that. But we put Peter Salk, Jonas Salk's son, on the Rose Parade float one year, and Albert Sabin, we put his niece on the float. Well, both of these doctors, you know, I mean, Salk felt that he could take a killed virus, a small amount of killed polio virus, inject it into the bloodstream, into the muscle. It would travel to the brain, and it would cause an inoculation. You would be immunized against getting polio. They did have one batch that wasn't very good, and they stopped for a bit, but then they've never stopped really. Our children here get the Salk vaccine. Albert Sabin, on the other hand, thought, we can do this with a very, very small amount of live virus. We'll put 2 drops in their mouth. It'll go into their stomach, which is different than the bloodstream. but hopefully it will get to the brain through the spinal column and the bloodstream, and it'll inoculate them. And in most cases, it does. Once in a while, if that kid or that adult is not able to hold the food in or hold in, has diarrhea or has a condition like that, it will pass out. Or sometimes these kids have to be vaccinated more than once. Once in a while, that the kid will come down with polio, but they will not be paralyzed. They will not be paralyzed, but they'll be sick. Okay, so there we have these two gentlemen that were just phenomenal. And you'll see what we're doing with our vaccine as we go on. As you're looking down there at that picture in the future,
Yeah.
that was, I believe, in 2017, I was in Calcutta or Kolkata, and I'd gone to a manufacturer that makes and builds braces, like similar to the one here that I wear. I have some others now. This fits right in the shoe. And you can see that it's on my leg right there, that brace. They also make braces that are for a full leg, like this one, for your full leg. This is what we can do. All right, so I was looking at the little kid, and the little kid was kind of looking away. And I was talking to him and I said, you know what, you're going to be okay. You just have to be able to take your time. You have to be able to be easy. And it's not very easy for a lot of people in India. How many have been to India? It's not very far away. Nick, you've been there. You know, where were you?
New Delhi.
New Delhi. Okay. Yeah.
Hello.
Next time we'll get you and I'll take you to some places you've never thought of.
I was in Rajasthan.
I've been into an area giving vaccines in Patna, in the state of Bihar. Oh, talk about a poor area. Oh my gosh, very tough. And I'm sure they have those areas in Africa too. Okay, if Grace is still there, if I haven't, let's go to our slide 2 and I'll start moving quickly now. There we go. In case you really don't know the definition of polio, there it is. You can read that quicker than I can. Not all people recover. About 5% of children and 10% of adults actually die. Most of the time they die because the polio virus attacks the motor neurons that are controlling the muscles that we use to breathe. 1 in 200 are paralyzed that get polio. I was paralyzed. My brother was not. If you're going to be paralyzed, usually there's going to be residual effects. The muscles are going to be affected by it, and they're going to be atrophied, and they're going to be weak. And that's going to be a case where it's going to go on their whole life if they're not careful. Those 4 kids, 3 or 4 kids, you see the picture of the kids on all 4s and the other 2 with braces, with crutches. Do you see that picture?
Mm-hmm.
That's unacceptable, guys. We are going to help them. I'm going to help you help them. That boy can't walk on all 4s. We're going to get him upright. We're going to get him straight up. We're going to do the best we can. The picture is like a group large iron lung. That was in one of the hospitals in Los Angeles. 4 children, they could not breathe, and they were in an iron lung. I do have an iron lung that I take and trailer. I was never in one, thank God. But I trailer it so that people can see it. But the iron lungs are like ventilators today. And they really helped a lot of people. Some people had to stay in them all the time. Others could come out during the day or at some point, but they had to go back in to breathe again. Okay, let's move on. Okay, you know the history behind it. If you don't, here it is. Quickly read, you can read that and find out when we launched Polio Plus. I'm sure that Peter and Carol remember when we vaccinated 7 million kids in '79 in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Rotary thought, let's do this. We can do this. And they started that pilot program. It was so successful. The wheels started turning, the Council of Legislation, and that, and Stella knows that, of course. They launched Polio Plus in 1985. And there's any team, any Rotary club needs a game plan in order to succeed. Next time, this coming year, maybe I can come back. I'd like to come back all the time if I'm invited, but let's double the size of your club. Round them up. It takes teamwork. In order to get rid of polio, they said, okay, let's form a game plan. Let's have a team. And there's the members, of course. Rotary, World Health, Center for Disease Control, which is out of Atlanta, in Georgia, United States, UNICEF, the vaccinators, and of course, Bill and Melinda Gates, when they kicked in all the money, they kicked in about 100 million in 2007. That was like a shot of adrenaline, because a lot of Rotarians were getting tired of this. They were saying, we keep giving money to polio and we still have polio. Well, Bill Gates' father was a Rotarian. He knew what was going on. And they had more money, I tell you, they had all kinds of bucks. So they decided to join with us, and it was such a great deal. So the acronym is GPEI.
Mhm.
And really, if you look at that, Rotary, we're the cheerleaders. World Health, they're the administrators, and CDC are the ones in checking the water, checking to see if the wild virus is in Johannesburg or if it's in California. They're checking. The UNICEF, they're the worker bees. They're out there. They're the ones giving the vaccines in every place you can think of, by horses and motorcycles and elephants, and that I've seen in camels in India, and I'm sure in Africa too, and by walking miles with their cooler and giving vaccines. Let's go to our next one. Okay, the good news, you can read all this. Let's go to the timeline in 95. Certification of the wild-type polio virus. That's not from a vaccine. So it takes 3 years. Move down and you can see the timeline. And I just looked it up last year, 176 cases of wild polio virus, cases of wild polio in the world. And this year so far, 132. The reason we've had that is because we'd had a pause in giving vaccines because of COVID. How is COVID over there? Tough?
Yeah.
You got to wear masks and everything else, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yeah, you got to be careful. It's really a killer. We'll get a vaccine. I don't know who's going to get it. Hopefully we get it.
Jim, there was on the news today that the Oxford University's vaccine has been successful. So they're the first ones to say that they've got a vaccine.
They were saying it's
That would be great news.
in both
Big
youth
news.
and the elderly. Because
So the
some things
vaccine
have
is
been-
tested on both the youth and the elderly, and it's working.
Wow, that's great.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yep.
Okay, Grace, let's go to our next slide. Congratulations. Africa is polio free of the wild polio virus that you live there. You're part of that continent.
Mhm.
Has there been some cases from the vaccine? Yes. In about a dozen countries there, but no wild polio virus. And of course, Nigeria was the one that we were waiting on to get get rid of it. But 3 years without a wild polio virus case in the whole continent. Congratulations. Okay, let's go to the next one, Grace. Important points we have to remember, and being educated as Rotarians, when people ask you about this, it's important. Yes, we're at 2 countries. Pakistan has been a problem, but guess what? They have a new president. They appointed somebody a fellow in charge of Polio Plus, and their cases have dropped. They had 79 cases this year, and last year they had quite a few more. They had quite a few more, really. One concern in India is that they've gone from 12 NIDs, one every month, to 1 a year. But they do have sub NIDs if they need it in certain areas, and they are using the they're using the oral vaccine. There's 155 countries, friends, that have switched from the trivalent because we've gotten rid of type 3 and type 2. The only way they're going to get type 2 is from the vaccine, but they're switching and they're using the Salk vaccine more and more and more. 126 countries are now using the inactivated Salk vaccine. That's great news. Okay, next slide. Like I said before, every successful organization needs a game plan. Here's our end game. Some of you have seen this before, to eradicate polio. And the end game has been extended to 2023 because we haven't gotten it out of Pakistan and Afghanistan yet. Look at those objectives quickly. And number 4 objective is really important for us, and that is the legacy that we eradicated a disease, the number 2 disease ever that's been eradicated in the world. And Rotary, that's our legacy. Our legacy also is that we can help with COVID. We can help with other diseases that are there if it comes about. And pretty soon that we will be polio free. Okay, let's go to our next slide. Here's our risks. The oral vaccine carries a little low possibility, but you remember how many people have been vaccinated, millions and millions of people. Once in a while, if that water is not clean and the virus is in there from the oral, remember it goes in through your stomach and then it goes through the fecal matter and it's pooped out. And if it gets into the water, we have tainted, unhealthy water and nutrition. It's more difficult, of course, to give shots, but World Health and UNICEF are working on that, to training medical personnel to be able to give the vaccines, injectable. And of course, we went over this before, worldwide, certification worldwide for 3 years. Okay, let's go to our next one. And many of you, would you like me to get Michael McGovern on one of your meetings here, maybe in the spring?
That would be awesome.
Michael. He's the head of Polio Plus. You've seen him, and he's a #1 man. He lives in Maine, clear above Boston. You know, he lives above Massachusetts, Grace, in a state that's way up in the right corner. If you're looking at the map, it's up in the right corner. We're way over there on the left. Michael's a terrific guy, and he was asked these questions about polio in April of last year, and so he addressed it in Rotarian magazine. And this is what we need to hear as Rotarians, and this is what our people need to hear. I called Michael on the phone and I asked him, I said, would you like to go to India for a polio summit? I'm going to have a polio summit to address life after polio. And he said, what's the date? I said, I'll have it in February or March, you name it. He said, I'll go to either one of them. And I said, okay. And I gave him the date and he said he was there. Terrific man. Okay, let's go to our next one. You can share these slides with your members later if you want to, Grace. Okay, let's talk about what we can do. What can we do for all those survivors that are in Africa, in your area? Do you see them on the streets? Do you see them crawling or walking, or do you see them out any place? No place.
Yeah.
Well, they're there. I know they're there. If we looked, it may not be right in that part of West Africa, but they're there. And I know that perhaps you might know an adult, even a child, that might have had polio, and they're doing the best they can, but they might even be able to do better if they had a little help. So corrective surgeries. I had a muscle transplant on my left leg because I lost all the quadriceps, which are on the left leg. I lost them all. And I had some triceps, but I used to fall all the time. I've been falling a few times lately, but it's because your legs are weaker and as they get older. But corrective surgeries really, really will help with the stability of the body parts. You know, if the muscle is not there, they can't move bones. But if we can transplant a muscle to help out, we can do that. So my doctor down at the orthopedic hospital in Los Angeles invented these surgeries. And they took the hamstring right behind your leg. You have two muscles, bicep femoris, right behind your leg. And he disconnected it and he tunneled under the fascia over the kneecap and anchored it and sewed it in. And I had to go through physical therapy for quite a while to be able to stretch that muscle so that I was able to walk. But I wasn't falling and I was able to run a little bit. I mean, walk a little. When I say run, I mean just barely, but a little bit. But it really helped me. Calipers and braces, and I've shown you some and you've probably seen them. We have a hospital here at Rancho Los Amigos in California that can help any polio survivor. And if they don't have the money, they'll do it for free. Calipers, braces, wheelchairs, and hand-operated tricycles that adults and children can use. And of course, very, very important is our vocational training. If the child or the adult has not had any education, does not have a job, we need to help them out. It's our job. It's part of Polio Plus. It's the plus. Okay, let's go to our next slide. Here's an example on my second, I think this was in 2012, we gave the wheelchair away to that little boy, and look at his calf muscles are very atrophied. They're not going to get any better. Well, he's in a wheelchair. He's going to be using those arms, and they maybe get weak after a while. The little girls are waiting to get calipers. You see the one girl with a kind of a checkered gray and black dress. She's got calipers on, and the other one's waiting to get calipers. On the left corner, they're doing a polio corrective surgery. In that case, that was one that was done in a city not far from Moradabad when I was there. And the fellow there, the adult, we gave that wheelchair that he can use the hand cranks. That was in Calcutta. That fella is married. He has a couple of children and he's married there. And now he can be a little courier. He can do some things. He can get around. And this is what we can do. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I held the summit, addressed life after polio. we had the last little girl that came down with polio at that summit. The grandpa did not allow the child to get the vaccine. There's still, in this, it was in a Muslim community there, they were thinking that this vaccine was some kind of a thing that they were giving to the kids and it would sterilize them and so forth. Well, this little kid came down with polio, and he was so sad about it, but we're going to help that young lady and we're going to help them. We talked all about it. We could do this where you are too if we want to. We joined a district 3291 and my district 5240. Okay, some of the things we talked about, let's go ahead. Okay, we had a polio corrective surgery. It finished up in 2019. We did surgeries, and there's an example of the surgeries on children. Over 350 children were operated on. And you can see that ward of children, they had saline going into their veins, but not much when it came to pain, and it is quite painful. If you're interested in doing a global grant to help polio survivors, I'll help you do that. We can join my club and your club, and we'll do this. And we'll get your district, and we'll get my district. And we can round up the clubs in your, in your district, and I'll round them up in mine. And we'll put together something that's really great to help people. We can do a global grant for other things too. Okay, let's go next to our next slide. Post-polio syndrome is basically this. This condition is of weakness and atrophy of the muscles. Usually there's some pain with it. Sometimes you're tired, you're weaker. Sometimes you have a hard time swallowing. Sometimes you might even have a hard time breathing. Most of this has been brought on, and we didn't know this, by being overachievers. And most polio survivors are overachievers. They want to be like the other children. They want to keep up with the other kids. I would go hiking. I even snow skied in my early 30s. And I basically wore out the muscles, but we didn't know that. We really didn't know about it at that time. So if you know them that have had polio, they need to take care of themselves. Working with weights and working on treadmills and doing all these exercises can wear out the muscles. They used to think that by doing exercise, you'll build a muscle up. Well, it really wasn't building it up, it was tearing it down. One thing that really does help, and it helped me, is being a swimmer. I learned to swim in the hospital. Swimming and water therapy and physical therapy in the water is very, very, very good for polio survivors. And I went on and swam in high school and college and played water polo. Do they have water polo there? They probably do. Oh, good. Okay, let's go to our next slide, and I think we're winding it up. So as one Rotarian to another, don't get discouraged. You are a shining example in Africa of eliminating polio, the wild polio virus, the whole continent. Fantastic, just fantastic. Continue to donate to Polio Plus. These vaccines cost about anywhere, depending on where it's made, and some of it's made in England and France and India and America. And it might even be made there. I'm not sure. Stella might know. About 20 cents to 60 cents for a vaccine. The inactivated costs a little bit more, about $1.50 for a dose. We have to keep giving and donate. We need to raise awareness with our family and our friends and in the community, and we're trying to do that worldwide. And thank you so much for the invitation. If I've been able to lend any kind of help at all. Don't leave the polio survivors behind, please. There's no reason for that. And we're not going to ever give up. Okay, let's go to our next slide. And of course, you participated in World Polio Day. That little girl is given 2 drops, and that child's not going to get polio. That was wonderful. Do you have any questions now? Do we have questions? Any questions? Nick, do you need another glass of wine? There you are. Any questions, Stella?
No, I do have a question. I'm just curious why it affects the legs primarily.
No, I
rather than
think
to the body.
I'm not sure exactly why, but for some reason it does tend to, that virus goes to the brain and goes to the spinal cord and the brain, and it tends to settle with those nerves that are your legs. Now, that doesn't mean it can't affect, the diaphragm where you're breathing and the muscles and your arms. I've seen it, but mainly in the legs.
Mm.
Yep. And if I can find that out, I will. I'll find out, Nick.
Thank you.
I'll email to Grace and get it on to you. That's a good question. Grace has a little one there. There he is. This is your son. Hi there.
My grandson.
Oh, your grandson. Oh, yeah. He's a good looking kid too. Look at him.
I looks like his
How old
grand.
are you? How old is he now, Grace?
He's 8.
8 years old. What a wonderful age. Well, maybe you can come and see us in California. Okay, now another question? Do we have any? Any from our district governor-elect?
No, not exactly. It was an interesting, very, very informative presentation. So
Thank you, Stella.
I hope, I mean, what we tell Rotarians is every Rotarian should know the basics about polio.
It is
Because this is what Rotarians say they do, and a non-Rotarian would ask a Rotarian a question, and you would really look bad if you didn't know the basics. So it's good to know these basics. I think every Rotarian should make it a point to know the very least.
Yeah. If I could probably arrange to get a medical doctor from United States to talk about it, maybe somebody at Rancho, but you know what? I think that most of you are on the cutting edge of what's happening. And if you've been around Rotary for a while, you'll know. And we're very, very close. And let's hope that we can get it out of Pakistan and out of Afghanistan.
Jim, we've got a guest that signed on a little bit late, and it's she's the president from Calcutta Universe.
Really?
Shamila. So Shamila from Calcutta is on the line, and you were quite instrumental in Calcutta. So I'm very glad that Shamila joined us this evening.
And where is she? Where are they?
Shamila, you there? I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Yes. Oh, I see her down on the bottom. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, terrific. Maybe we could do a joint Zoom meeting with the Rotary Club of Calcutta Metropolitan and with your club. Wouldn't that be fun, maybe?
I will pass the information on to Shamila. I'm not too sure if she's got not got a stable internet, and I also know it's quite late for them in India. At the moment,
Well, let's see. I'll tell you what it is. I've got it right here.
You can pop it on email to me, and I'll pass it on.
Okay, we're going to be in touch. We're going to be in touch. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, it's
We will remember that
11:38.
there are three
Yes,
and a
it's
half
nearly
hours
12
ahead.
o'clock.
It's
it's almost
11:38.
You might have fallen asleep.
Yeah,
It's almost midnight in Kolkata.
that's right.
Well, I better sign off. And I don't, and you're all invited to come and visit. And I'm going to keep, I will be sending emails, the latest update to you, Grace, and maybe you can get those out to everyone.
I'll do that.
I know that you get reports, but I'll send you what I have. Our zone 26 and 27 are 2 polio plus chairs of those zones are terrific. They've been really getting us, so Anyway,
Thank you.
I should say
Um,
good night to all of you, and it was an honor and a privilege to be able to speak with all of you, and hopefully we meet up in person someday. And good luck, Stella. You know,
Thank you very much.
Oh,
We
you're
will need it.
oh, there it is. Oh, that looks good. So I'll stop talking and you do your work, and can I stay on?
Yes, you can stay on,
Thank
and I'm
you.
going to
I'm gonna
hand over to Ntombi now to do the vote of thanks.
Oh, good. I will, I'll mute myself and then I won't, that's it. I'll be watching. I want to learn some things. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yes,
Jim, thank you. I think from all of us here in Johannesburg and our fellow Rotarians across the world who've also joined us, we'd just like to say thank you for sharing your journey with us, for being an ambassador for polio, and constantly pushing. It's exactly why places like Africa have finally have our polio-free zones, and we are grateful for that. And once things finally get better with COVID and we find our normalcy with COVID, we hope to meet you and we look forward to working with you. Thank you for offering the help, and we look forward
Oh,
to
that's nice. Thank you.
Thank you.